The Dharma Discourses of Cardinal Master Chongsan. Part 2, Dharma Discourses. Chapter 8, Responses to Occasions. One Cardinal Dharma Master Chongsan said, some of the relationships between leaders and the led and between colleagues require frequent attention, whereas others will remain sound even without special attention. For the former, there is a danger of estrangement if those ties are neglected, because close affinities have not yet been developed. For the latter, obligations and affection are unconstrained by formalities, because it is a truly intimate affinity with united and conjoined energy. When a leader no longer needs to apply any mental calculation or expedience in dealing with the led, and the led no longer need to engage in deceit or fabrication in relating to the leader, then quite naturally a great loyalty will be established between them and they will be connected in a Dharma lineage. The more we have such affinities, the more readily our order will flourish. 2. The Master said, the founding Master, 2, said, just as a field prone to weeds requires more of a farmer's labor, so too does a fickle practitioner require more effort to be taught. This is not because the teacher is partial towards such a student, but because that student could well go astray if more effort is not made on his or her behalf. Hence, a practitioner should not seek for the teacher's special love, but should instead treat the teacher with composure, only making sure that there is loyalty and affection in their relationship. 3. The Master said, one who wishes to become a truly virtuous person should first practice appreciating the virtues of others. Without appreciating others' virtues, it is difficult to become a truly virtuous person. If you do not admire others' virtues, you will not be close to virtuous people, and if you are not close to virtuous people, your own sense of virtue will inevitably decline. If your own sense of virtue declines, you will not take pleasure in cultivating virtue. How, then, can the road to becoming a virtuous person not recede into the distance? Therefore, to admire and emulate others' virtues is an essential requirement of the practice of becoming a virtuous person. 4. At Chongsan the Master said to the students, the fact that we are subject to transgression and harm that come from outside is a consequence of what we ourselves have done in past and present lives. The principle of the fourfold grace is always just as it is and immutable. Goodness teaches us by being good, badness teaches us by being bad. Both are good teachers who give us guidance. If we always think like this, we will forever preserve peace in all situations. He then composed a verse synopsis in literary Chinese. Injury is of one's own making. Grace is originally unlimited. The teachers of good and bad both guide me to goodness. If each and every thought is just like this, we will forever remain at peace. 5. When Yang Tosin was starting out as an ordained devotee, she requested a Dharma instruction that could serve as a vademecum for the rest of her life. The Master wrote down for her this list of 4 vows. 1. Practicing the Great Way is a treasure for an eternity of kulpas, momentary glory and shame are like a patch of floating clouds. Therefore, through this eternal hope, I shall transcend the immediate passions that are right before my eyes. 2. Since favorable and adverse sensory conditions provide me with opportunities for learning, and good and bad people alike guide me along the road of practice, I shall never forget to feel joy and gratitude for both of them. 3. Since diligence is the source of the myriad blessings and a love of learning is the foundation of great wisdom, I shall always make these 2 qualities my lifelong enterprise. 4. I have entered the order of a great sage, which is difficult to encounter even after successive eons of time, and have in addition become an ordained devotee who has made a vow to devote myself to, and sacrifice myself for, all the worlds of the 10 directions. As a person who has met with such a rare opportunity, how dare I waste even a second? As a person who has made such a great vow, how could I jeopardize my entire future by becoming bound up in petty desires? I shall bear in mind this rare opportunity and grave obligation. 6. The Master presented these lines in literary Chinese to Yi Chengjiang, make a great vow. Pursuing private enterprise and personal benefit alone is like dew and smoke, to become a Buddha in order to save all sentient beings is the greatest of all vows. Establish great faith. Nothing is more marvelous nor is any treasure more valuable, it is like the core of an iron pillar and the exterior of a stone wall. Arouse great zeal. It is said, if one severs the profit motive at that one source, one's merit will be 100-fold, but if one repeats this for 3 nights and days, its pedagogical value will be 10,000-fold. Embrace great questioning. Great questioning perforce follows from great faith, and even metal and stone will be penetrated where one-pointedness is reached. Conduct oneself with great dedication. If one is truthful and without artifice, inside and outside will be non-dual, and if one is consistent from beginning to end, one's merit will be the same throughout heaven and earth. By applying the great way of ill one, deliver innumerable sentient beings and liberate yourself from suffering for an eternity of kalpas. 7. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to his students. Pine trees and bamboos demonstrate their constancy by enduring frost and snow. Bodhisattvas nurture their minds through forbearance. The efficacy of forbearance is like a bamboo shoot at the beginning, then like a bamboo stalk, and finally like Mount Tai, it then achieves the efficacy of not becoming uprooted for 10,000 years. The power of expanding the mind is like a stream at the beginning, then like a river, and finally like the great sea or deep blue ocean, achieving an inconceivable capacity. Although the turbulent sense objects are undergoing change from dawn till dusk, the suchness of the true nature subsists throughout eternity. One who is unaffected by material things is called a person of superior spiritual capacity. Turning the light around and projecting the radiance back on one's own nature is the path to Buddhahood. 8. At a joint coming-of-age ceremony, the master gave a Dharma talk. Being an adult does not just mean getting old and turning gray, rather, an adult is one who tolerates others well and renders benefit to others. One who tolerates and renders benefit to others is an adult, even if one is young in age, but one whom others tolerate and support is always just a minor. Since you have become adults, try to become ones who tolerate others rather than ones whom others tolerate, take care of others, rather than wishing always to be taken care of by others, make blessings anew, rather than trying always to receive blessings from others. Furthermore, if one attempts to win by sheer force, it will be difficult to attain ultimate victory, but if one wins wisely through gentleness, one will attain victory in the end. It is like water, which is extremely yielding but can easily penetrate a mountain. 9. One day, as he witnessed students insisting on their own one-sided opinions and failing to understand others' viewpoints, the master said, if you do not appreciate all sides of an issue but become attached to just one perspective, you will become biased and will not be well-rounded. You should not be enticed by your own point of view, rather, by observing thoroughly both sides of an issue in its time and place, endeavor to make an appropriate critique and a correct choice in action. 10. A student said to the master, I understand that our order is considering instituting a new system allowing married couples to become ordained devotees. In my humble opinion, it might not be appropriate for life inside a sacred practice site. The master replied, the Dharma of the coming world should be one without limitations. In order to embrace many sentient beings and widely bestow on them the Buddha's grace, we must try to provide a path whereby husband and wife can participate together in religious propagation, as they may wish. 11. A student said, in this sort of communal life, reward and punishment should be clear. The master said, there is great reward where reward is lacking, there is great punishment where punishment is lacking. Therefore, don't be concerned with overt reward and punishment, and never let go of the mind's suitable measure of truth and falsity. 12. Kim Saryong asked, can I get what I seek even if I seek it with greed? The master said, great things will be granted only when you seek them without a desiring mind. Kim Saryong asked again, please teach me the greatest and most perfect Dharma. The master replied, it is that Dharma which finds the mind, cultivates it well, and uses it well. 13. Yi Myonghun asked, I wish to learn a skill. What is the greatest skill in the world? The master replied, learn the skill of getting along harmoniously with people. 14. Chongsan asked, how should I always keep my mind, how should I speak and act? The master answered, always keep a relaxed and generous mind and be relaxed and kind in your speech and actions. 15. A student said, please teach me an immutable method of practice that everyone should follow. The master said, it is one in which you hone to the middle way in all matters, without excess or deficiency. The student asked again, which practice is most difficult? The master said, it is the practice of using an even and constant mind. 16. Chan Yukang asked, which sage presented us with the greatest discovery for past, present, or future? The master answered, it is the sage who discovered the greatest beneficence. Yukang asked again, what relationship creates the worst enemies? The master answered, it is easy to make the worst enemies from within the closest relationships. So, the closer you are to someone, the more cautious you should be. 17. And Yuzhong said, since I am going out for the first time to the front lines of edification, please give me a word of instruction to cherish always. The master said, first put it into practice yourself. 18. Wang Chenam asked, what must I do in order to gain the awesome power of heaven and earth and to accomplish great things? The master said, if only you are free from perverse thoughts will you be able to accomplish great things. 19. A student asked, what is the most urgent of human affairs? The master answered, discovering one's own faults and correcting them is most urgent. 20. Yi Chesong asked, which method would enable me to engage in great practice? The master said, there should be no gap between teacher and student. Chesong asked again, what should I do to remove that gap? The master said, only if your faith in the teacher is firm will there naturally be no gap. 21. A student asked, when I practice to eliminate the 5 desires, the 3 poisons, attachment, and signs, what if I use mindfulness to eliminate them separately category by category? The master said, there is nothing wrong with doing that, but as you encounter sensory conditions, observe the thoughts that arise, and as you witness the sprouting of unwholesome thoughts, nip them in the bud right then and there. If you keep doing so, various perverted states of mind will naturally cease to arise. 22. A student asked, are the 5 desires something bad for humankind? The master answered, the 5 desires in themselves are neither good nor bad. However, desiring more than what is proper will lead to transgression and suffering, seeking and utilizing just what is proper will lead to blessings and happiness in this world. 23. Yi Kuangzhong said to the master, I try hard to maintain one-pointedness of mind in everything I do, but that very effort seems to interfere with one-pointedness. The master said, only when you begin your work should you be concerned about doing it with one-pointedness. Once you have started, however, let go of even that thought and one-pointedness will be achieved. 24. Kim In-chol asked, is it a good policy to confront and combat to the end a difficult and perverse sensory condition? The master said, treat it as you would when an ignorant and violent person comes to you and tries to provoke a quarrel, in which case you would quietly defuse the situation and then gently admonish the person later. There will always be crises along the road of practice. It is a good policy to look for a way around those crises, rather than always to get across by force. 25. The master said, the true power of your practice can be realized only after you have gone through a crisis. Then, an ability you didn't possess can emerge and an ability you already had also can be fortified. 26. A student asked, in general, how should I regulate my mind? The master said, as a general rule, leave wholesome thoughts as they are and eliminate just the perverted thoughts. Occasionally, though, you should also make opportunities to extinguish all thoughts, whether wholesome or perverted. He asked again, during seated meditation, when I suddenly remember a wholesome act that I failed to attend to in ordinary hours, how should I handle it? The master replied, make a mental note of it and immediately set it aside, then, after seated meditation is over, get back to it and take care of it. 27. A student asked, what can I do to foster a sense of public spirit? The master replied, understand that your body is the public property of the fourfold grace, you will thus understand that requiting grace is your duty. Understand that the true value of human life lies in benefiting others. Be thoroughly aware of the consequences of benefiting yourself and benefiting the public. 28. A student asked, I would like to learn about mastery of the way, mastery of the Dharma, and mastery of the supernatural. The master said, mastery of the way is seeing one's nature, mastery of the Dharma is establishing laws and rules in accordance with principles, mastery of the supernatural is gaining the illumination of divine numinosity. The master continued, you should first achieve mastery of the way and mastery of the Dharma and only then achieve mastery of the supernatural. If a person achieves mastery of the supernatural first, one can easily fall into perversity and error, and one's practice will not advance, either. He continued, exercising supernatural abilities is an ancillary matter for a sage. If the presiding sage occupies himself with the exercise of supernatural abilities, then who will take care of the way of humanity and righteousness? In this new world, there is no need for sages to make use of supernatural abilities, for all of scientific civilization is none other than the exercise of supernatural abilities. 29. The Master said to Yang Tosin, not to waver from one-pointedness in either action or rest is entering a state of absorption. To engage in right action through that one-pointedness during the operation of the 6 sense organs is exactly the exercise of supernatural abilities. 30. The Master said to a student, the great Mara of practice is presuming you are doing pretty well. This is the indigestion of the meal of Dharma. 31. The attendant asked, shall I always consult with you before undertaking anything? The Master said, except for everyday matters, consult with me first. I must be aware of them if our energies are to be in mutual accord, so that the matter will proceed smoothly. The attendant asked again, what should I do when I notice a teacher's fault? The Master said, if you notice a fault in a person on whom you must perforce rely, you should grieve over your own misfortune. If your suspicion is not dispelled, then inform him directly and resolve it. 32. A student asked, does the Buddha also feel intimacy or distance, remoteness, or closeness? The Master said, it isn't that the Buddha does not feel these things, however, when he takes care of matters, he always does it fairly and impartially after examining all sides. The Founding Master, too, said, when I see a good person who possesses a sense of public spirit, my affection for that person is that much warmer. 33. A student asked, if people are content with their lots in life, wouldn't that inhibit progress in this world? The Master replied, being content with one's lot does not mean being unmotivated and lazy, but instead honing to the proper sequence and carrying things out in utter composure. Hence, one should progress in accordance with one's own capabilities. 34. A student asked, what is the compassionate way of handling an obstinate person who persists to the end in what is wrong? The Master replied, if that person refuses to listen no matter how many times you gently admonish him, then it would also be compassionate and loving to apply extraordinary measures in order to reform him. Compassion that ignores others' wholesome and unwholesome actions is not true compassion. Preventing others' transgressions and suffering is in fact the compassion and loving kindness of a living Buddha. However, if there is hatred in your heart and you have the intent to harm that person, that is not compassion. 35. A student asked, is benefiting both oneself and others something that is only done with material goods? The Master replied, practicing good speech and conduct and thereby becoming a model for others to emulate in their practice is also a superb way of benefiting oneself and benefiting others. 36. The Master presented this line in literary Chinese to Yi Unsok and Kim Chong-yang, conform to way whether square or round. He presented this line in literary Chinese to Yi Cheng-jiang, seize the path of the right mean. He presented this line in literary Chinese to his attendant, exert yourself in practice without delusion. 37. The attendant said to the Master, I saw this line in a dream, non-confrontation, graciousness, and humility. The Master said, to be non-confrontational with regard to external situations is the basis for harmony, to graciously maintain humility internally is the basis for nurturing virtue. This is a wonderful line, so follow it earnestly. Generally, a person who is too unyielding should first focus on the practice of non-confrontation and humility. Only then can one achieve great success in the coming age of harmony among people. 38. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to Pak Chang Sik: the foundation of nourishing one's nature is applying one's mind broadly so smelt the self-nature of adamant liberally and in complete autonomy. 39. The master said to Yi Songsan: if the capacity of your mind is vast and grand, all sensory conditions become tranquil on their own, this is the path to paradise. If the capacity of your mind is narrow and small, all sensory conditions threaten you from the four directions, this is the path to the sea of suffering. Suffering and happiness depend entirely on your perspective. Then, the master wrote these lines in literary Chinese: if you cultivate the way and its power with utmost sincerity a level path ahead will then open. 40. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to Kim Chong-guan: both in action and rest, be in accord with the proper measure. He presented these lines in literary Chinese to Yi Kongwei: if my mind is right, then all minds under heaven respond to me with righteousness. If my mind is harmonious, then all minds under heaven respond to me in harmony. 41. To students who had committed faults, the master said: repent thoroughly before the congregation and the Buddha. He then presented them with these lines in literary Chinese: vow to be truthful so you will not deceive yourselves / vow never to commit the same fault twice. 42. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to Ryu Kihian and Hong Kong 1: to maintain no thought during each and every thought is the practice performed while at rest / to maintain clarity in human affairs in each and every matter is the practice performed while in action / if you can maintain mindfulness and no thought at will / then the great way will be infinitely vast and unimpeded. 43. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to Chong Konghai: cultivate the way and nurture its power / renew your life each and every day. He presented these lines in literary Chinese to Yun Chuhian: first endeavor to cultivate the way / then everything under heaven will return to the way. 44. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to Mun Tonghian: being a householder or an ordained devotee lies in one's mind, not in one's body. Being a bodhisattva or a sentient being lies in one's mind, not in one's body. Direct each and every thought to the mind of Bodhi, so that you will transcend the triple world in each and every step you take. 45. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to a student who returned to the householder's life: if you continue to recollect the Buddha and to practice / he will be close by even when 1,000 leagues away / if you turn your back on the Buddha and immerse yourself in the dust of this world / he will be 1,000 leagues away even when close by. 46. The master presented these lines in literary Chinese to a student who was getting married: faith is the origin of the myriad good deeds / harmony is the fount of the myriad blessings. Later he added another line: dedication is the source of the myriad virtues. 47. Sending his students to their assigned workplaces in Seoul, the master offered this admonition: be unfailingly patient, diligent, sincere, and magnanimous. Be careful not to be carried away by the mundane world. 48. The master said to the employees of Tongwei Clinic: the medical profession is also a sacred profession that delivers sentient beings. Make kindness, commitment, and honesty your creeds. 49. When the road to Kaesong was blocked for some months following Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial occupation in 1945, the master wrote these lines in literary Chinese for Yi Kyung-soon and told her to recite them during her mental affirmation. The Dharmakaya is fundamentally pure and clear. The taste of sun is also pure and clean. Kaesong is originally free from barriers. If one understands this, then there are no obstructions. The way of public service is naturally broad and wide. So too is one's service to the public. All the Buddhas of the 3 time periods have followed this practice. The master explained to Song Tal Chun: wherever you are, do not make enemies. Render beneficence even to a cat. Live your life as if you have nothing even when you do, and as if you know nothing even when you do. This is the crucial secret for escaping the calamities of war. 50. During the Korean War, the master said to some young men at the headquarters who were being drafted into the national militia force, "Handle all your matters as if the Dharmakaya Buddha and the founding master were always watching over you. Even though you are leaving our premises, carry on with your lives with the same frame of mind, as if you were still here. When you are confronted with a difficult situation, offer a mental affirmation with an undivided frame of mind. Afterwards, handle the situation as the Spirit moves you. Though you may temporarily have left my guidance, spend your time as if you were always under my guidance." 51 During the Korean War, the Master gave this admonition to the congregation: "Always speak words without rebuke, act with flexibility and ease, and sincerely pray that our hungry, cold, and miserable compatriots will again enjoy peace and lead comfortable lives." The Master continued, "If at dawn and dusk you pray without selfishness, then, first, your mind will attain the mental realm of the Buddha with his great loving kindness and great compassion, thereby initially accruing benefits for yourself, and second, your wish will finally be realized, thereby accruing benefits for the people." 52 Taking advantage of the chaos that followed the Korean War, a group of devotees were violating rules and regulations and acting as they pleased. Several times, members of the congregation raised their concerns with the Master. One day, the Master quoted a verse from the Tonghak Master Choe Hawol's Dharma Discourse: "I am not made of clotted blood, so how can I be without anger? I have 5 viscera and 6 entrails, so how can I be without emotions? The only reason I refrain from censure is because I don't want to damage the heaven-endowed mind." The Master then said, "Do you think I remain quiet because I don't understand our great cause and what is right and wrong? But how can I take the initiative to expel disciples whom the founding master himself nurtured, and sever their dharma affinities? How can I be the one who would obstruct upfront even a single person's future? The founding master never gave up beforehand on even a blade of grass or a single tree." 53 The Master sent this congratulatory message in literary Chinese for the 10th anniversary ceremony of the foundation of the Hongik orphanage: "By harmonizing with myriad people, you complete the circle. By making the mind one, you connect with heaven." 54 When Wan Kongsan Heng traveled to the United States, the Master presented her with these lines in literary Chinese: "Over many thousands of li of water, land, and air / may your departure be peaceful and your return peaceful." When Pak Kwongjin traveled to the United States, the Master added these lines: "Transmit the light of Dharma according to the occasion and your affinities / may everything be as you wish at the beginning and at the end." 55 For the celebration of Im Chil Bohue's 60th birthday, the Master sent this Dharma saying: "In the secular world, gold, silver, crystal, amber, pearls, lapis lazuli, and agate are called the 7 jewels. In an order that cultivates the way, we take the 7 mental qualities of belief, zeal, questioning, dedication, stability, studiousness, and decisiveness as our 7 jewels. I pray that you, my fellow practitioner, will take these 7 mental jewels as your foundation throughout the 3 time periods and acquire all the wisdom and blessings of eternal life." 56 For the celebration of Yoon Sogin's 60th birthday, the Master delivered this Dharma discourse: "There may be rain and dew in heaven and earth, but those who make use of rain and dew to farm receive a greater blessing. In the same way, there may be good dharmas in the world, but those who make good use of them receive a greater blessing. Hence, in celebrating one's 60th birthday, if one does not spend the day in meaningless extravaganza, but, following our canon of propriety, establishes new dharmas in the world and makes new blessings, then one's glory will be many times more than if one spent a great deal of money meaninglessly in this world. The offspring's requital of parental grace will also be many times greater." 57 The Master wrote a letter to Kim Hyung-won: "When people produce wholesome or unwholesome karma, sentient beings do so for reputation, power, and privilege, and a desire for personal gain. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, however, do so out of belief, duty, and compassion. Therefore, reputation, power and privilege, and benefit return to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but sentient beings wander about in pursuit of futile reputation, power and privilege, and personal gain." 58 The Master sent a letter to Song Chamyong, if, despite our physical separation by mountains and streams, your mind occupies a seat at this Dharma meeting, and despite the innumerable differences in the types of human affairs, your spirit bases itself on this single thought of belief and dedication, and you keep exerting yourself in diligent practice, then this will be a practice that is never separate from me, and will be the path that leads directly to the Buddha's realm. 59 The Master sent a letter to his attendant, who was convalescing. Although a person's physical body becomes ill, the foundational mind is free from illness. If you treat your body with the mind that is free from illness, your physical body will accordingly regain health. I sincerely urge that you cultivate this practice. 60 The Master wrote this note in literary Chinese to the gravely ill Kim Penganyan: there is neither birth nor death, neither sickness nor health. Enjoy eternal happiness in the Buddha land by the practice of calming your mind. 61 During his long period of medical treatment, the Master's appetite often was irregular. Regarding his own condition, the Master said, if you have an appetite, even a simple vegetarian dish tastes delicious and is nourishing, but if you have no appetite, the richest and rarest of dishes are tasteless and cause indigestion. In the same way, if a person possesses the way, one can easily handle well even adverse situations and thereby enjoy blessings and happiness, but if one does not possess the way, one will mishandle even favorable situations and create a source of calamity. Therefore, an exciting or boring life in the world does not just depend on external conditions, it really depends on whether or not one possesses within oneself the power of the way and the taste of the way.